Sooner or later, we all come up against something we can't do. And since I looked into Dolly, I always think of her, because Dolly always can. Today, we're making my first guitar, which is where Dolly Parton started out. Hi, I'm Gabriel. This channel is all about the stories of some great people, where I make projects and search for that bit of wisdom that set these people apart. Check them out and leave me a comment. You could also like and subscribe to see more. She was one of 12 kids. She had just 2 rooms in her house and no electricity, so it's obvious that an 8-year-old Dolly can't have a guitar. I'm making this Telecaster, but Dolly Parton also made her first guitar. She started off by playing in any old junk that she could cobble together, because when most of us can't, Dolly always can. It was a hard childhood, such as someone like me can't really imagine. She famously said we had running water when we'd run and get it. She also had hunger and cold ice on the floor, 4 siblings in one bed, and not all of them potty trained. Illness and child mortality and no money for the doctor. When she was just 9, her precious newborn baby brother Larry, that her parents had declared as Dolly's baby, as it would be her job to look after him, just as her older siblings each had a sibling to look after. But he died at just 4 days old. How on earth does a 9-year-old continue to play the guitar with bleeding, blistered fingers, a patched up coat made out of rags, and a broken heart? Most of us can't. But Dolly always can. It was outside a laundromat in Tennessee that Carl, her future husband, hollered at her through his window of his pickup truck when they were just 18 and 21. Dolly had no intention of marrying young, and her record label desperately didn't want her to do it, just as she was seeing some modest success. But at just 20 years old, she married in secret in a little Baptist church, witnessed only by her mother. There was no way their marriage should work, but 50 years later, they're still going strong, because Dolly always can. When she got a big break and joined the Wagner show, she was booed off stage, but she kept going, and success came relatively quickly. She left in 1974, and to say goodbye and thank you, she wrote Wagner the song, "I Will Always Love You." That same day, she was also reflecting in the bank on a girl that had a crush on her husband, and she wrote Jolene, both of which made #1. But "I Will Always Love You" was to continue to make history. It was shortly after Parton had her hit with it that Elvis asked for permission to sing "I Will Always Love You." Dolly was overjoyed until his manager explained that she would have to sign away half her rights to the song. To turn Elvis down would be madness. A young musician like her simply couldn't do that. But where others can't, Dolly always can. Doing it upset her. She cried all night, but it left her in control of her song, so that when Kevin Costner asked for use of her song in The Bodyguard, she could say yes. And of course, Whitney Houston's version of the song was destined to make Parton incredibly rich. With money in her pocket, the list of things that most of us can't do, but Dolly can, goes on and on. She sang "This Dumb Blonde Ain't Nobody's Fool," and let's face it, you couldn't exactly describe her as an academic, but she is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It costs a lot of money to look that cheap. And yet, she's a good Christian girl who has stayed faithful to her husband. And who would have thought
that the child of an illiterate tobacco farmer who went to Nashville straight after high school could give away 150 million books to teach children to read in honour of her father. But her charity, Imagination Library, has done exactly that.
Which is why we're going to sell this guitar to support that charity. Details will be in the description. But perhaps the most wonderful thing about Dolly Parton is that even when she really can't do something, she can. So despite writing I Will Always Love You, she could never do what Whitney did with it. But our humble joy in Whitney's version puts paid to any idea of envy. Instead, she said, "It was one of the most overwhelming feelings I have ever had. To hear it done so well, so beautifully and so big. She took it and she made it so much more than it would have ever been. It was such a joy as a songwriter. I don't think I will ever have a bigger thrill." Or more tragically, when severe endometriosis resulted in her having a partial hysterectomy and deprived her of her own children. Despite the heartbreak, the loss, the struggle, even that was turned in for good.
She recently shared her conviction that God didn't mean for me to have kids, so everybody's kids could be mine. So I could do things like Imagination Library, because if I hadn't had the freedom to work, I wouldn't have done all the things I've done. It's typical of this amazing person that where so many of us would believe I can't have children, Dolly has found a way to believe that she can have everyone's.
Dolly Parton started life in a small shack with no running water and a homemade guitar. And yet today she has a net worth of $600 million, 11 Grammy Awards. She was nominated for 2 Academy Awards and has won the Medal of Arts.
The advice of Dolly Parton to the rest of us is this: don't limit yourself just because people won't accept the fact that you can do something else. If you don't like the road you're walking, start paving another one. And find out who you are and do it on purpose. But for me,
I just remember that Dolly always can.